Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello. Do you want our videos on?
Actually, you can leave them off right now.
Hi, Sydney.
Hi.
We're going to let everybody join in. If you could do me a favor, just go ahead and type your first name into the chat. And that'll help me take attendance. So just open up the chat feature and type your first name right in there while we wait for everybody to join in. Very good. It looks like many of us are here. We're still waiting on some people. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started while more people join into the meeting. Welcome to Cell Biology. My name is Dr. Piscopo, if you haven't met me already. A lot of my students call me Dr. P. That's perfectly fine. Or you can just call me Professor too. That's perfectly fine. We're going to be meeting this semester virtually. We're going to be doing online coursework for cell biology, and we'll meet once a week like this on Zoom. I noticed that many people have already been into our Canvas site, which is great. If you haven't had an opportunity yet to click into our Canvas site, plan to do that today sometime. If you go right to our homepage in Canvas, you'll find a lot of useful information about how the course is designed, basically. When you click on that homepage, when you click on our Canvas course, you'll find a couple of important links right on that homepage to the syllabus and the schedule that we'll be using this fall, to our YouTube channel and our particular playlist in our YouTube channel, and also to our Zoom meeting information. Because of course we'll have a meeting ID and a password for our meetings to try to keep some security around our meetings. We will be meeting once a week on Tuesdays at noon, and it'll be a time really for us to talk about the week's work, to ask questions, to bring up any issues, any questions you have, any problems you might have. It's a time really for us to just connect as a class. I do expect you to attend our Zoom meetings. Your presence here is important to us, but I also recognize that sometimes we're not able to make meetings. And so if you're unable to attend on some particular day, just send me an email and let me know. The nice thing about the Zoom software is that it does record our meetings. And so what I do is I post all of our Zoom meetings onto our YouTube channel. So if you happen to miss a meeting, or if you want to go back in and view some information that we talked about in a meeting, you'll be able to do that. So we do have a YouTube channel set up with a playlist that is just for our class. I teach a lot of different courses, and everything's online right now. So this semester, though, there's only 2 playlists that are visible to you on our YouTube channel. There's the playlist for our class, and there's the playlist for a class I'm teaching at River Valley. So you'll find all of our lecture videos up on YouTube in that playlist this semester. So I won't be delivering them to you in person, but hopefully you'll find that the video recorded lectures are actually kind of nice because you can stop and start the lecture anytime you want. You can review parts of the lecture if you need to. And you can take it at your own pace, which is also kind of nice. Now, a really important thing to remember when you're watching lecture videos this semester is that you're going to want to take a good set of notes for yourself. And that's because you'll be able to access those notes when you're taking your quizzes in here and when you're taking your examinations. All right, so the better notes that you can make for yourself, the better you'll do in terms of your grade in here. So it's a good opportunity to practice making a nice, tight, efficient set of notes for yourself for each lecture. Now, I'd hate to think of you sitting there and writing down every single thing on every single slide in the lecture videos, which is why I also post the slides for you on Canvas. So you can pull up the slides and you can watch the video, and you'll only have to take extra notes. You won't need to write down every single thing that's on all of the slides. I think that would probably drive you crazy. I know it would drive me crazy. So I'm going to provide the slides for you. You can go to YouTube to watch the lectures. And typically I break a lecture down into 3 and sometimes 4 shorter videos. So, you know, normally we would meet in the classroom for an hour and 45 minutes. I don't typically make lecture videos that are that long, but typically you can expect maybe 3 or 4 shorter videos for a particular lecture. So I'll break a lecture into 3 or 4 videos that might be 20 to 30 minutes long. And again, it's important that you remember that you'll have an opportunity to ask questions as you're watching the videos. Keep a list for yourself. As you're taking notes, keep a list for yourself of anything that's not quite clear or something that you're not sure about. And if you bring those questions to our Zoom meetings, we'll talk about them as a class. Believe me, if you have a question about something in a lecture, there's somebody else in the class who also has that question. So don't ever hesitate. The other thing you can always do when you have questions is send them to me over email. And I'm happy to talk with you about lecture material over email as well. All right. Let's see what else I need to tell you about Zoom meetings. So Zoom is kind of an unusual software program. It's great. It's wonderful. It's very helpful during the pandemic, but it has some shortfalls as well. There have been times when I've come to start a Zoom meeting for a class when I can't get into the program. So I would ask that if you ever try to come into our Zoom meeting at noon and I'm not here yet, give me 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes, all right? If the meeting doesn't start within 10 minutes of noontime, you're free to go. Something has gone wrong and you'll hear from me over email. But sometimes it's just a problem starting the software, starting the meeting. So I would appreciate your patience right at the beginnings of the meetings. Zoom also limits the amount of time that we're able to meet at one sitting. It's typically about 40 minutes. So on most Tuesdays, we'll just have a 40-minute meeting. But there will be a couple of Tuesdays when we're doing a lab exercise together. And on those days, what we'll do is we'll meet a couple of times. In other words, you'll enter the Zoom meeting at 12. We'll go for 40 minutes. Then we'll take a break offline. And then we'll start again at 1 o'clock. It's just a little idiosyncrasy in Zoom that you have to, you're only able to meet live for about 40 minutes at a time, and then you have to take a break. We'll talk more about that before our first lab. Other than that, Zoom is pretty straightforward. You just have to know, as I said, you have to know our meeting ID and our password if you're trying to access the meeting outside of Canvas. So that information is always available to you on our homepage. As I said, a lot of you have already gone into Canvas. I can see that from my end. If you haven't had an opportunity yet to go into Canvas, the most important information, I'm just going to share a screen now with you. Right on our homepage, there's a whole lot of important information. So if you ever get to the point where you're not quite sure, you don't know how to get to the YouTube channel, or you've forgotten our meeting ID and password or something like that, if you just come right into the homepage, you can find those important links right here in the center of the page. Our syllabus and schedule is always available to you right here. From time to time, that information gets updated. I'll always list for you when the last update occurred, so you'll know if something has changed in the schedule. For the most part, though, our schedule is fairly set. The only reason something would change in the schedule, or the only things that would change, would be if we get a little behind on a topic, or if we perhaps get a little ahead on a lecture topic. The order of lectures might change, but I won't change the exam dates. All right, so you know when your exams will be in here. And of course, your exams will be over Canvas as well. So from this homepage, with information about the course, the next most important place for you on Canvas is the module section. So our course is broken down into week-by-week modules. And in each module, if you look at this week's module, in each module, there'll be a to-do list for you, just to make it very clear exactly what is going on this particular week. So there'll be a list of things that you'll need to do. And then, as I said, I'll also post slides for you for each of the lectures that we're doing. And you'll have a short quiz to take for each of the lectures. These quizzes are typically only worth between 5 and maybe 8 points. They're not intended to be difficult. You can use your notes from the lecture videos to take the quiz. It's just a check. It's just a check to make sure that you're understanding what's in the lectures. And it's also a nice opportunity for you to see what kinds of questions I ask, what the format of my questions tends to be. So you'll have an opportunity to earn quite a few points from these lecture videos as we go through each week. So if I click on the to-do list here for this week, if I click on our to-do list, it says for Tuesday, we're having our Zoom meeting right now. And then it tells you for the rest of the week, you're going to want to view the lecture videos on YouTube for universal characteristics of cells and biochemistry. And there are 3 videos that make up this lecture. And they'll all be labeled. It'll say Universal characteristics, number 1 of 3. And then there'll be one that's called number 2 of 3 and number 3 of 3. So it'll be very obvious to you which videos you need to watch. And then you'll take that lecture quiz. And generally what I do is I give you about 24 hours past the date that the lecture is scheduled to take the quiz. So it's not that you have to watch the lecture video during our class period, our scheduled class period. You don't have to do that. You can find a time to watch the video. But I don't give you a whole long lot of time past that scheduled date to take the quiz. And that's because I'm trying to help you stay on schedule. One of the most difficult things about taking an online class is staying on schedule. It's not easy. It's not easy to motivate yourself to get the work done in a timely manner. And I recognize that. I know how difficult it is to take an online course compared to an in-person course. So part of why you have these lecture quizzes each week is to motivate you to keep up with the work. So typically you'll have a quiz on Wednesday due by midnight. You'll have a quiz for Friday due by midnight. So you just have to get the first lecture done so that you can take the quiz by Wednesday. And you'll have to get the second lecture done so you can take the quiz by Friday. Okay? And again, most students tell me that the quizzes are helpful because it's an easy chance to earn some points. And of course, your grade in here is based on points, how many points you earn. So every chance you can to earn points, it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile to earn those points. Now, obviously, there is a lot of, sorry, I'm just moving some things around. There's a lot of information in our syllabus for you to read through if you haven't already. And I know you've looked at a lot of different syllabi in your life as a student. As you know, some of the most important things to make sure you know are things like, do we have a textbook? If not, is there any other reading I need to do? We don't have a required textbook for this course. And all of the information that you're going to need to know for our lecture exams is in the lecture videos. But in case you want to supplement that, in case you want to read more about something, you can go to this OpenStax biology text, which is a really nice reference text. So again, there's nothing that I'm going to examine you on that we don't talk about in lecture. But if you're interested in reading more about something, you can go to this textbook, which is free to you online, and do a little more reading. And of course, you can also come to me and ask questions. All right, I'm here to help you. That's my goal, is to make sure that you understand the material we're talking about. Now, we'll also be reading a couple of journal articles this semester. You can see when that's happening on our schedule. We'll talk more about that when we get closer to that time. Here's the basic breakdown of the points for this course. The bulk of your grade is determined by the examinations. And I know for a lot of students, that's a very stressful thing. A lot of us have anxiety around tests. I understand that. But remember, in this course, you're going to be allowed to use your notes during the examination. That's the only material you're going to be allowed to use, though. So that should motivate you to make sure that you have a nice, complete set of notes in front of you during the exams. You're going to want to make sure that you understand what's in your notes so you can find it quickly during the exams. Now, we'll also have those lecture quizzes, and you'll have some lab assignments to do for me. But the bulk of your grade in a course like this is based on your understanding of the lecture material. There's some other information in here for you to look through, but at the end of the syllabus, that's where you'll find our schedule. So you can see again for this week, there are 2 lecture topics. Next week, you have lecture topics around membranes to watch. Then we have our first lab and then our first exam. All of this is available to you in the syllabus on Canvas. Hold on just a sec. I'm going to move some more information around here. All right. Now, my next question is, do you have any questions so far? Does anybody have any questions about anything I've said so far? Questions about how the course is going to work? Questions about where to find things? Questions about that YouTube channel? Anything like that? All right, if any come up while I'm talking, feel free to type them out in chat, okay? All right, I'm going to go back in now. I wanted to show you something. If you're not aware, I want to show you a little trick that you can use in PowerPoint around taking notes. Now, I said at the beginning of our meeting that I'm going to post the slides for you on Canvas, so you can have the slides while you're watching the videos about the slides on YouTube. And some students like to just take notes right onto the PowerPoint slides for themselves, and that's fine if that works. But if you're not familiar, you should know that you can also take a PowerPoint presentation and turn it into an outline. So if you go into PowerPoint, if you open up a lecture in PowerPoint, you can click on the design or the display of the lecture, and you can ask it to be outlined. And all it does is it literally puts each of the slides in an outline form, like you can see here. It takes all the information off of each slide, and it puts it in an outline for you. Now, some students find it easier to have this in front of them while they're watching a lecture video so that they can type additional notes right onto this. All right. What I'm hoping that you're taking from this is that I don't want you to sit down during a lecture video and try to write down everything. I don't want you to try to write down everything on the slide and everything that I'm saying as I walk through the lecture. That's just, you don't need to do that. That's more work than you need to do. You have the information from the slides already. All you need to do is add in additional notes. Okay, so if you've never used the outline feature in PowerPoint, give it a go. See if you like it. See if it makes it easier for you to take notes. All right. So we have a couple of questions on the chat. Rebecca's asking about the exams. Will the exams be in person at all, or are they also online? Rebecca, the exams will be online. So what that'll mean is Oh, and the exams will also be taking place during the class period and beyond that period. So let me explain what I mean by that. You're going to have an hour and 45 minutes approximately to take the exam, just like you would if you were sitting in the classroom and taking it. So if you're available, to sit down at noon and take the exam, that's great. But the exam will be open the whole day that it's scheduled. The exam, I typically open them up in the mornings at about 6 o'clock, and I keep them open till about midnight. So whenever it's most convenient for you on that day, you will want to sit down and take the exam. You only get one shot at the exam though. So once you begin it, you have to finish it. So you have to make sure that you have a 2-hour block of time. Now, every once in a while, for different reasons, students will not be able to take the exam on exam day. And if that happens, just send me an email, let me know, and we will reschedule the exam for you. But otherwise, you should expect to take the exam on the days that they're scheduled. You just have to set aside a 2-hour block of time sometime during the day. When you start the exam and you go into the exam and you take each question, when you finish, you'll get some feedback right away. Some of the questions that I write are multiple choice questions. So Canvas will tell you when you submit your exam which one of those questions you got right and which ones you got wrong. So you get some feedback right away. But I also use short answer and essay questions. Now, I don't ever ask you to write a long essay, but they're called essay questions in Canvas if you're sitting and typing your answer in. Now, those questions have to be graded by hand. So after you take the exam, it will take a couple of days before you know your final complete score on the exam. But yes, you'll be taking it directly in Canvas, and you'll be taking it at some point during the day, on the day the exam is scheduled, or I should say, or during the evening, if that's more convenient for you, on the day that the exam is scheduled. Good question. So Sydney's asking, I'm so glad you asked this question because I get this question a lot. Sydney's asking if we just, look at the slides and read the slides and make sure we understand the slides, is that okay? Or do we need to watch the narrated video of the slides as well? I'll tell you, Sydney, the way I make PowerPoint presentations, my slides are basically bulleted lists of information. And I feel strongly that if you tried to just use the slides, you'd miss a lot. In other words, I might list something on a slide as, 4 or 5 bullet points. But what I do in the lecture for the slide, in the video lecture, is I fill in the extra details. So I try to tell you a story, basically, when I give a lecture. And there will be information that I add in to the slides. So I don't see a way around watching the videos. I know it's not super fun to sit down and watch an hour or an hour and a half of video. I recognize that. But I hope that if you get into the habit of watching the videos, say on a particular day or at a particular time, it won't be quite as painful. But yeah, I really feel that if you tried to just use the slides and not watch the videos, you're going to miss some information that's important. Good question. Mackenzie's asking about whether or not there'll be laboratory material on the exams, and the answer is no. There will be no direct questions about the labs on the exams. So these are true lecture exams. Now, I will say that if we're talking about something in the laboratory that we discuss in lecture, obviously that's fair game, right? For example, in the first lab exercise that we're going to be doing on September 8th, I think it is, we're going to be talking about osmosis in plants. We're going to do an exercise over Zoom that involves exposing plant cells to different concentrations of salt water and looking at what happens to those plant cells as a result. And we are going to talk also about osmosis in the membrane lectures, the video lectures. So anything that we talk about in lab that's also covered in lecture, obviously that's fair game on the exam. But there won't be any questions about the lab exercises themselves on the lecture exams. Instead, what I do is I give you an assignment for each lab, and I'll ask you questions about the lab material in the assignments. Good question. So, and the other thing to know about the lecture exams is they are timed. So you will have a limited amount of time to complete the exam, just like you would if you were in the classroom. Now, what that means is you should study for the exam. You should sit down and you should read through your notes before the exam and make sure that you understand the material. You'll have your notes with you in case you need them during the exam. But what you don't want to do is sit down and try to take the exam cold without having gone through your notes, because if you have to constantly flip through your notes and find information, you're going to waste time. And you might have time finishing the exam if you try to do that. So I really recommend that you make a nice, very concise, efficient set of notes for yourself, and that you study those notes. You read those notes a few times before you sit down to take the exam. So Sydney's asking about study guides. Yeah, I kind of go back and forth on study guides. I do use them in some courses, and I don't use them in other courses. So because this course offers you the chance to use your notes during the exam, I don't give you a study guide. Now that might seem scary to you because it's a lot of information, right, on the exam. But I promise you, if you watch the lecture videos and you take a complete set of notes, you'll be fine. You'll be fine on the exam. So I'm not going to give you any document to say, focus on this material during the exam. I'm not going to give you a study guide because your notes are your study guide. Good question. Good questions today. All right. Couple other things that I wanted to mention. There are some discussion boards that are set up for us in Canvas. If you've already been in Canvas and you started doing the to-do list for this week, or I guess for last week, for prior to class, you know that there's a discussion board set up for us called Introductions. And that's the board where you can post some biographical information about yourself. I hope that you'll take a chance to do that, because it's unfortunate that when you take an online class, you miss out on some of the interactions that you normally would have in the classroom. So by posting a little bit of your story on the introductions board, you're introducing yourself to your classmates. I also asked on the board, I said, if you want to post a selfie, if you want to put a couple pictures that you think speak about you and who you are and what you enjoy doing, please feel free to do that. And feel free to comment on each other's posts. It's a chance for us to interact with each other, even though we're virtual this semester. Now there's going to be another board. There is another board set up for us on Canvas, and that one's called Questions. Questions, questions, questions is the name of the board. That is a place, just like the name suggests, that's a place for you to post any and all questions that come up. If it's about lecture material, or if it's about our schedule, or if it's about class policies, or anything at all, you can post it on that board. And you can feel free to respond to each other's posts. You might want to ask the class, did anybody else have trouble with this? And your classmates can respond back to you that way. Now, if you have a question that you want to ask that you don't want to post publicly, that's okay too. You can always send a question just directly to me over email. Now you'll notice on Canvas, it talks about the inbox feature on Canvas. You can send me an email through Canvas. If you click on the inbox tool, you have to choose which class and you have to choose the person you're sending the message to. But that is the best way to send me an email message. Now, of course, you can also go into Outlook, you can go into email, and you can send me a message. But the difference is this: if you send me a message through Canvas, it comes to the top of my inbox. So I always tell students that's the best way to send me an email, because I'll see that message first. As you can imagine, I get a lot of email, just like you do. And sometimes I miss a message, or I don't get to a message when it comes in, if it comes through my regular Outlook email. But if you send me a message through Canvas, it gets raised up right to the top of my, my inbox. So just a little trick for you to know. All right, let's see, what else do we need to talk about? I guess the other thing I want to talk about just briefly is I know how stressful a semester this is for everybody. And I want you to know that I'm here to help you be successful, okay? And I mean that. I mean that. So if you have any problems, I want you to talk to me about them. I want you to contact me, and I want you to talk to me about them. And if you ever need to set up a private meeting with me, we can do that over Zoom, just the two of us. If you just feel like you need to vent, that's okay too. We are living in unprecedented times, right? We're living in unprecedented times with this horrible pandemic. And I know how stressful it is to be thrown in to a new kind of learning, and to have to take your COVID tests, and to have to wait for your test results, and you have to wear a mask if you're on campus, and the whole thing is just very, very stressful. And we all want to march forward with our lives. We don't want to, not take our courses, but at the same time, you have to remember that you're under a lot of pressure right now, and you have to take care of yourself. You have to take positive steps every day to address the stress you're feeling. So what I'm saying is, don't hesitate to contact me if you need some help. Maybe you can't get a lecture quiz done on time. Maybe you need me to give you an extension. Maybe you can't get a laboratory assignment done on time. Maybe you can't attend a laboratory that is scheduled because you've got to go help your mom or something. I want you to tell me if you're dealing with any kind of experiences that are interfering with the course in any way. I will help you. I'll work with you. Okay? It's important that you know that. I really do take my role seriously as your instructor. I look at my role as helping you be successful in this course. Okay? All right. Anything else that anyone can think about? So if you haven't yet, make sure that you go into Canvas where it says things to do before the first day of class. If you haven't done those things yet, it's okay, don't worry. But get those things done. One of those things is for you to complete a student survey for me and submit that. And then you can jump in to this week's material, this week's lectures. And let me know, obviously, if you have any issues at all around finding those videos on our YouTube channel. Let me know if you have any issues at all, okay? I won't see you again till next Tuesday. So you can communicate with me over email if you need me. Anything else at all? All right, everybody. Listen, I appreciate you coming today. I appreciate you being here on time. If you need to look back at any of this information, remember this video of our meeting today will be up on our YouTube playlist a little bit later on today. So you can pull it up and look back in there if you need to. All right, I'm going to let you go. Enjoy the rest of the day. I will see you next week.